In this session, I want to talk about how coaching can help a person navigate a career change. Very often, people reach out for coaching when there's a crisis point, where something has changed, a relationship has broken down, they've lost their job, or they're looking to have a big career shift. And I'm noticing quite a lot of young people in their late 20s, early 30s are really starting to think twice about the career choice they went into. So it's not just later on in life, it can be quite early on as well. And let's be quite frank, you know, the massive march of AI is going to literally take out swathes of jobs. And so many people are going to be left thinking, where do I go now? And let's be quite frank, you know, our identity is massively tied up into our job because, you know, identity is very often not only who we are, but what we do. So in other words, as soon as we stop doing what we used to do, who do we become? So people do come, you know, into that room with a lot of sort of identity, you know, existential crisis going on for them. So what are some of the things I do in coaching? You know, I think one of the things is I'm trying to understand what do they really like about their past job. So what part of the job did really fuel them, was the part they felt most them in? Because there'd be parts they didn't, but other parts that they, oh my God, I really love that. That made me zing when I was doing that part. And then I'll ask some other quite fun questions. Like imagine you won the Euro Millions. You got like, I don't know, 50 million, you know, and now you've traveled the world, you bought the cars, you bought the watches, you bought the houses, and now you're settling down, and now you're thinking, well, now what am I going to do in my life? Now you don't have any money worries. What would you do? So we move away the financial constraint, which so often clouds people's decision. And one of the other ones I do is a similar thing, but slightly different because it looks at failure, is if you knew you could not fail, if I could wave a magic wand and you wouldn't fail at this, what would you do? Because we know fear blocks people from doing stuff. So now we start to get into what people really want to do. And then we can start exploring about how do they make that happen? You know? And there's something else I really love to look at is what are their passions? What are their strengths? What are their values? So we start getting the square peg in the square hole. We start finding something that they want to do which is true to who they are. Having now come up with a number of different potential avenues, what then has to happen is there comes to some criteria for selection. And very often I'm challenging those criteria for selection because maybe they're not looking at them quite right. I got to earn this amount of money. Well, you don't need to earn that amount of money if you bring down your costs. Or, yeah, but you know, that's going to take 5 years. Yeah, but actually you've got another 50 years to go. You know, so let's not, you know, put criteria in that maybe are not the right ones. So then they'll then go away and they'll sort of assess those on the criteria. It's not for me to tell them what's the right job. And then they'll come back and say, oh, I think we should be doing this and this or this. And out of that, then what we'll then be doing is doing some visualizations about how do we bring the life? What would it be like for you right now if you were in that space? Who would you become? How would that feel? And then we'll then find ways like, you know, capturing it with, you know, a mood board or with a mantra or with a song or whatever happens to be. So it helps them live it every single day. We want it to be on their computer, on their fridge or whatever, so they can keep seeing their future presented in the now. I often talk about, we've got to talk about this in the now and in the I space. You know, I won't go into that too much details. But then we've got to put an action plan. We've got to walk back from income, walk back from outcome. You know, what do we, if we want to be there in 2030, what do we do in 2029, in 2028, 2027, 2026? So we know the path we're going to. And then obviously, as a coach, my job is to help, you know, hold their feet to the fire and make sure they're delivering against that stuff. Because frankly, you know, that's part of what we do. We just help walk alongside them and help hold them to their promises that they've made to themselves. So I hope that helps.